As Doug Ford noted, I'm going to hold off on the announcement. I feel like the narrator of Arrested Development, that's Ron Howard, he didn't hold off from the announcement. He basically told you everything you needed to know about this. So the arena's saved. There's still a lot of details that we're all really curious about, and one of the voices and faces that really put this into motion with petitions and as I mentioned, a jersey, I like sweater better, a sweater and helmet wearing deputation at City Council is the executive director at Integrity TO. He is Daniel Tate. Nice to have you in. You got the sweater but not the helmet today.
Yes, Weston Dodgers. I almost brought the helmet, but I was like, won't be good with the headphones.
People were thinking there might be something wrong with you, which may or may not be true, but I think they thought that just because of the helmet. You got to be thrilled about this. And sort of, you probably started to hear the same thing I did a few weeks ago, dribs and drabs. There's been a huge community presence, 16,000 people signing a signature. It ain't nothing when big names like Eric Lindros and Kevin Weeks get involved. Did you start to get hopeful that the ice would stay in and this would remain a hockey rink?
You know, I've remained optimistic since the beginning because I knew how beloved and loved this rink was. And so many people were reaching out to me saying, we got to fight for this. We got to save the tradition of Weston hockey, which has been going since 1949. This rink was built by kids in the late 1940s. The Leafs won 3 consecutive Stanley Cups. Weston was in the grips of hockey fever, and they had nowhere to play. And that's really how this rink was initially created. So I knew this was a worthy and righteous cause. And again, over time, we started building critical mass. The petition got bigger and bigger, and here we are celebrating victory.
Because I had heard a couple weeks ago, the premier's involved. I do know Keith Pelly quite well. I've known him a long time, and I'm like, he'd listen to reason on this one. When you start to hear the heavy hitters aren't saying it's a done deal, that probably increases your optimism as well, does it?
Yeah, well, when I knew it was on Ford's radar, then I really started feeling hopeful because, often, and unfortunate, this is a trend that we've been seeing, but when City Council drops the ball, often the province has to get involved and fix the mess. And I think this is another example of that Doug Ford saw something was amiss here. The story shouldn't have gotten this far, and then he had to basically intervene and make things right.
Daniel, this got into an argument about privilege versus privileged kids and families versus underprivileged youth and families. I don't like that. Of course, we need to raise people up, and everything I was saying about giving kids and families and single parents and you name it options for recreation, those are really good things. But somehow, as you said and a lot of people said, can't we find a way to do both? Can't we have our cake and eat it too? And I think that solution does this here.
Well, it's pretty privileged thinking to assume that you can just knock down a 77-year-old hockey rink. What gives anybody the right to do that?
Well, it's losing money. It's not a moneymaker, right? The rink, it was costing the city a lot of money, and it
Well, that's why we pay taxes, to pay for the upkeep and operation of public amenities and assets, Weston Arena being one of them. It doesn't have to be a profit maker. It's about having ice and recreational opportunities for kids who want to skate, figure skate, play hockey, etc. And so the city is on the hook to ensure that rink was kept up to par, and they failed in that duty. And just because, look, Weston absolutely needs a rec center and a community center. Mm-hmm. There's not everybody loves hockey, but it shouldn't be done at the cost of sacrificing a rink that's been there since 1949. Build an adjacent rec center or an MLSE launch pad. That's what I've been saying since day one, and that was what should have been done since the beginning of this saga.
We haven't seen details of this agreement. That's worth noting. Are there things and questions you're quite curious about when MLSE eventually, and they're taking their time, they're dotting I's, crossing T's, when MLSE releases the final plan, and a lot of that will be the financials, what do you want to see? What questions do you have?
Okay, so the first thing is I'm a big heritage guy, and there's a lot of heritage attributes of this building. And this is why I went to City Hall a couple weeks ago, and I vouched for this being added to the Heritage Register at the Toronto Preservation Board. So number one, are they going to revitalize the heritage, the physical attributes of the rink? There's these beautiful wooden trusses that make up the roof. There's a media box. There's all these incredible originals from 1949. Are they going to be maintained, restored, and revitalized? That would be my number one question. And my number two question is who's going to operate it? The Weston Lions has been operating it for many, many, many years. They've really built that community tradition. They know the community quite well. Are they going to retain operating operational management of the rink. And is it going to be a year-round facility? For a few months of the year, it's been closed. I think
does the ice usually stay in all summer? Are there like hockey leagues and skating camps and whatnot? They take it out for a few months.
My understanding is that it's been closed for the summertime for I guess the last few years, and it would be great for this to be an all year round operating rink,
because that's when a lot of players want to get better at their skating. That's when they obviously want to, they want to be out on the ice. Some parents and some kids want to be out there.
Yeah, but I think what's
August.
Important to note here is that the city has neglected this rink since 1990. Okay, that was the last time any major renovation or capital injection has occurred at Weston, and that is negligence. That's negligence on the city's part, on the councilor's part, on Parks and Rec's part. Parks and Rec has a $63 billion capital budget. Weston Arena needs about 15 mil or so of repairs. Why have they neglected it for so long?
Your argument would be, again, like you criticize the city for the money they spend sometimes. Your argument would be you have the money, you're spending it on far more frivolous and less significant community and cultural things than preserving an 80-year-old arena, which matters to people.
Yeah, well, the city has demonstrated time and time again that it has misaligned priorities. It has misaligned spending. Often it spends on ideological excesses like, renaming streets and squares. You have the money. What we want as taxpayers is to have good public amenities, good recreational assets that are in a state of good repair, that are well maintained, and it's not just hockey rinks. All Parks and Rec facilities, the washrooms, the swimming pools, the outdoor rinks, the basketball courts, they should all, if we're going to say we're a world-class city, those should all be like phenomenally maintained, and the city's not doing that.
How did you see, so the local councilor, Brad Bradford, called in earlier. We weren't expecting to have him on, but I'm like, okay, let's talk about this. And I said to Brad, it can get kind of awkward, kind of stepping into somebody else's ward here. There's some element of jurisdiction, but his argument was Weston means so much to the city that it shouldn't just be one councilor's. One councilor shouldn't dominate over that particular ward. But when you see, and I saw this Friday, and I didn't like it very much. I get it. It's politics. But Frances Nunziata did an interview with the Toronto Star, the councillor there, and her quote, "I made a promise to the use of my ward. I'm committed to delivering that promise. So for the past few weeks, I brought the parties together." And I'm like, I feel like I know differently, and I feel like that's a disingenuous way of framing this, given she was adamantly against keeping the ice rink in. Is that fair?
Oh, that's absolutely fair. In my opinion, she's an absolute hypocrite. Let's not forget that she was the architect of this rotten plan since day one. It was her members' motion that said, let's remove the ice from Weston Arena, basically ending a 77-year tradition. Let's not forget that Mayor Chow is the one who seconded that motion. Okay, and the only two conscientious objectors to this were Councillors Holiday.
Interesting way to frame it.
Were Councillors Holiday and Bradford, and they got chastised and grilled by Nunziata at the city council meeting. I posted it yesterday on my Instagram. So Frances Nunziata really has a lot of self-reflecting that she needs to do. She's certainly no hero in this story.
Like, I don't know any other way to put it. And what I saw was this is a councillor that arranged for the arena to be demolished. She had her argument for it. The community disagreed with that to build a community sports hub instead, and she absolutely was adamant. We're not keeping the ice in. We're not replacing the rink. So for her to circle back like the shark in Jaws on Friday and be like, "Yep, thanks to me, I brought everybody together, and we've got a workable solution here." I'm sorry, like I smell what that is a mile away.
Yeah, it does not pass the smell test. Everybody can see it. And it just goes to show how disingenuous this woman is, who's, by the way, been in office since 1988. Frances Nunziata has been in office since Jesse Barfield was on the Toronto Blue Jays.
Well, does that matter? You could, if you were.
No, it does matter.
The public has to vote her out.
Well, term limits. That's all I got to say.
But they're not coming anytime soon, so it's easily possible she runs again.
So we'll see.
I got to leave it there. Thanks very much for being. Again, I think it's a victory for the community, but to your point, let's see what the details are, and let's see how long this rink can it get back on its feet? Can the repairs get done, and can it be a flourishing place once again? I think we all want to see that.
Yep.
Daniel Tate in from Integrity TO.